What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. We talk to the man when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. We talk to Nick Underhill at Nick_Underhill on Twitter. NewOrleans.football is the site. There's not a better site to be subscribed to for all of your Saints needs. I mean, you look right now, they have a full podcast you get access to, breaking down everything that happened at rookie minicamp, how James Washington fit in with the Saints. These are other articles as well. Now, a fortified Saints offense should thrive with Derek Carr attacking the whole field. Big steps for new Saints, Brian Brzee and Foster. So a lot on the site constantly. Go sign up today. It is so worth it if you're a Saints fan and you want to be kept in touch. And now they have the new YouTube channel with Brooke Kirchhofer as well. So big things going on over there at NOF. Nick, what's up, man? Thanks for waking up with us again.
How you doing, guys?
We're doing well. So we'll get into mini camps, obviously. That's when we spend the majority of our time. But I assume that you saw at least the clip that we played earlier of Foster Moreau on the Adam Schefter podcast. And
Nope.
Okay, you did not see this. Okay,
I did not.
well, basically there was he went on there and Schefter asked me, why'd you pick the Saints, right? And he went on to say that the day after he got his diagnosis, that he got a call from Mickey Loomis, and they said to him and his agent, "Look, we want Foster no matter what, right? If he's good, if he's healthy, if he's not, like, regardless of the health, we want him. We want him in the building, and we want to be here for him when he can't play, if he can play." It seemed like, they kind of extended it forward that they wanted the person as much as they wanted the player, and I guess it just all felt like a wonderfully human story in the cynical meat market of the NFL, and it went a long way with Foster as he ends up throwing his lot in with the Saints. Where is Foster right now, Nick, in terms of this offseason portion of the year?
Yeah, I mean, what you just said, that aligns with what Brooke Kirchhofer reported a couple of weeks ago about there just being a standing offer out there, and he was getting interest from other teams too as well. So I don't think it was a situation without competition. But you show people you want them, and they tend to want to be a part of your organization. So
yeah,
that's kind of been one of the themes of this offseason is players just talking about how much love the Saints are showing them, and that going a long way. So something about their ability to recruit seems to have really, really hit this offseason. But I can't believe the things that I'm hearing about where he's at health-wise. People talking about how there's not going to be any limitations whatsoever. I don't know enough about anything medically, honestly, but like just to know how that works. But the fact that in March, we're at the owners' meetings, I'm talking to you guys, and I think it was like that morning we found out about the cancer diagnosis, and now here we are just a little over 2 months later, maybe a little less than 2 months later, and we're talking about him being able to practice in OTAs and minicamp. I mean, it's just not something that I thought was going to be possible. And when Brooke reported that thing about the standing offer, like, I was thinking like maybe post training camp, maybe he signs and he's just on the team and he's able to get his treatment and recover. And then when he's healthy later in the season, a year from now, like, I was not thinking that he was going to be part of their immediate plans, the solution to this tight end problem. And here he is. And, look, I'm excited about the fit of him on the team, just because not necessarily that like individually he's the guy that tilts everything for your team, but I think you put him in that mix, and now you got the ability to just kind of use your tight ends all over the place. And I think it just creates the ability to have more mismatches, because you're in your two tight end sets, and you now have these very versatile players that can do a lot of different things opposite Moreau. So I think it's going to be, kind of a finishing touch for the offense. And I think it was an important move for them. And the fact that he can play is just like, I'm still struggling to get my head around it. It's an unbelievable thing. It's kind of one of those, maybe one of those things you look back on and it's kind of like a galvanizing moment or whatever. It just feels like something special's happening for Foster. And I mean, I'm just really relieved to see it playing out kind of the way it's playing out.
Yeah, and again, to be clear, the Saints offered him before the medical history was that clear, right? I mean, it was the day after the diagnosis when they basically called him and told him that. So nice job by Mickey Loomis and that front office.
Hey, I was going to ask you about the fit, but you kind of laid it out there. Obviously, like, that's a reason why you don't draft a tight end. Like, they felt comfortable about that situation because, like we were talking about, like how do you not move for a tight end? There was tight ends available when you were selecting in the second round, even in the third round. And this is why they had their guy. They felt like they can move forward with him. And now you look at a tight end room, Nick, that feels like it's got everything that you need. We talked about it last week, a Y, an F, and then you have Taysom who can kind of be whatever you want him to be. Now this room looks completely different. It makes sense.
Yeah, look, their offensive philosophy as a whole, this offseason is kind of extremely drastically different than Sean Payton, say, in 2020, 2019, like 2021. Like the way they're building their team now, like they're actually building depth on offense and everything and having multiple weapons. And there's kind of not like this sheer reliance on scheme. And I think maybe that eliminates some of the need for elite coaching. You got some talent that can help overcome it a little bit. And I think that's really important for this team. And like, I think it, the tight end room kind of illustrates it as a whole. Like they need to have these personnel groupings that they can go out and full teams with and not have tells. And that's just kind of the way they operate. They used 555 different lineup combinations on offense last year, which I believe was the most in the league. The Bengals had 197 just for like a juxtaposition of like how much movement there was in offense. And now, granted, like when you have a quarterback injury, now you're doubling up some of those because, you got it with Jameis and now you got it with Andy Dalton. So the number's a little inflated by injury, but everybody had injuries at quarterback last year. So you're kind of getting that across the board. So they need to have all these different groups. And you guys watch them, like they'll run the same play 5 times in a game and just use it from different personnel groupings, different formations. And if you can change those up, like that's how they beat teams and that's how they continually exploit mismatches. And I think a lot of that starts with the tight ends. They've always been a tight end heavy offense. They're always going to be. And if you actually have the versatility to do it and you're not giving away, run or pass based on whether, Juwan Johnson's on the field because you don't have a tight end that's a hybrid that can do both things. I think that it's a huge benefit to the team. But yeah, I mean, look, we used to hear, we like what we have in the room. Like they're telling us now they don't like what they have in the rooms and they're actually building them out. And you look across the board on offense and like they kind of feel stacked at every position. They have everything they need to succeed. If Pete Carmichael doesn't make this work, it is firmly on Pete Carmichael this year. There's no excuses. And that's the best way to go into the season.
Yeah. We talked about that the other day. Like, he has to be able to take advantage of this nice mixture of players here. Rookie minicamp just happens, Nick. The first chance to get eyes on this new class, the future of your New Orleans Saints. Most exciting development for you at rookie minicamp, or maybe what stood out the most to you?
Oh, man. So we're out there for like 35 minutes and there's not a lot. So like we're going to talk about things and put meaning on things that probably shouldn't have meaning put on them. This is all we have. This is what we do. Yeah, no, it excites me. It's my favorite time of year just to hype people up or whatever. Look, the first couple of things that stood out, like Brian Brzee is like absurdly fast. Like just the way he moves was different. And you got a first round pick out there with a bunch of, and Foskey's out there too. So you have 2 legitimately highly drafted guys out there with a bunch of guys that were like in the XFL or dreamers or not going to be in the NFL or going to be working at Home Depot in a couple of months. Like just guys that probably aren't going to be in the NFL. So like it pops even more, but Brzee's first step looked crazy. His build is insane. Like he just looks the part, and it was impressive watching him. Kendre Miller, same thing. Like he is just, you see him on film and he looks big on film, but like in person, just he just looks like a massive power back. And you kind of put that with how he runs, and he doesn't necessarily totally run that way. So like I'm excited to see him when he finally gets going. Jordan Howden was someone that stood out, and he's kind of the draft pick that's flown under the radar that I think we've all just kind of like straight up overlooked because, there was a quarterback before him and A.T. Perry after him. I think he's someone that might actually have a shot at making that competition at the back end of the safety group interesting. A.T. Perry did a couple good things, couple bad things, saw him drop some passes, which you don't want to see.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. Hold on. We just spent like weeks trying to hand wave away A.T. Perry dropping pads. Can't come out doing a rookie minicamp.
Routes on air, there was a concentration drop. No, it was tough. No, you don't want to see it. Look, I think he locked in after it. There were a couple things in a drill too. Like they kind of like run through like a little obstacle course, cutting around the cones and everything. And then catching a pass at the end. Like he messed a couple of those up too and had to restart. But I think he like locked in as practice went on, and there was an adjustment at the one play. So again, very, very small sample size. But the one thing you did not want to see is see him drop a pass.
Yeah.
And I thought Shaq Davis too, the UDFA they signed, like he moved well. He popped a little bit out on the field. Got to kind of got to see it when it actually matters. But first impression there, it looked like there was an athlete. So we'll kind of see how he builds on it.
I mean, I was going to ask you about the two guys they signed out of the XFL before you said they're going to be working at Home Depot here in a couple of weeks. Now I don't know if I should ask you about. They're one of only 2 teams I think that signed multiple players from the XFL. The Falcons signed 3, Saints signed 2.
Yeah, look, those guys aren't going to be working at Home Depot. I'm just saying, like, there's guys out there that it's just like they're doing other things. They come out, they work out, and then they're gone. But Nico Lawless was he was on the team before. I think he was one of them. And then they had the lineman. I mean, it's
Jack
the line stuff.
Heflin, I believe.
Yeah, the line stuff's tough, man. Like where do you see the big guys down there kind of like balling about and not really doing anything?
No pads there.
Yeah, no pads, not really doing anything. Look, on the defensive end or defensive line side of that though, like the one thing that was very, very interesting to me, and this is kind of like a deep cut observation, but they had Brian Young, who is a pass rush specialist who typically works with the edge guys, working with the DTs. So like that was interesting to me, just kind of seeing him kind of teaching them some technique. Normally we see him with the other group of players, and like the overall depth of the coaching staff too popped. Like there was 3 groups of defensive backs. You got Sterling Moore working with 2 guys, Joe Woods working with 2 guys, and Marcus Robertson working with 2 guys. Like so, like the ability to kind of get that like one-on-one coaching and work in small groups and kind of having people specialize them within different groups. There were 2 defensive line coaches, obviously, with Todd Grantham and Brian Young. Like, I think that the depth of that coaching staff is something that might be a benefit this year. Like, you kind of saw the very first day, like, how well it was working for him. And I think that's going to help him overall. So, DA's changes on that side of the ball, I think first impression, like I was impressed to see how smoothly it looked like it was operating. And I think they're kind of, just getting started. So that should get better and better.
So it's fair to say then that because like we said, this defense was kind of fully remade in DA's image after having maybe too many cooks in the kitchen last year, whatever, like, old tired saying you want to use. There was just such a weird hierarchy last year. You're saying that the early returns is that the chain of command is much clearer now.
Yeah, it looked different. It definitely looked different. And it looks like, possibly it's going to be a well-oiled machine. And, I think they succeeded last year in spite of some, obvious issues. I mean, if you're cleaning the house, there's obvious issues with how things operated. So, yeah, I liked what we saw out there. I like the guys that they kind of have on the field. I mean, look, Marcus Robertson's like the person that helped Charles Woodson transition into the second phase of his career, playing different positions and everything. So there's some legitimate brain power on this staff that I think is going to help. And as a defense that likes to have versatile players, like Howden was out there playing deep safety, and it's just kind of like shell things, but you saw him doing deep safety stuff, doing stuff in the slot, playing in the box a little bit. And Robertson's the guy coaching them. And he's someone that has experience doing that. So like the way they like to use their safeties, I think some of these guys are going to be able to really help with that. But yeah, I think it's going to work much, much better on defense this year. And I think that's going to lead to better returns.
Nick, last one here, and it's very generic, but any Derek Carr news, further news about how he's selling in, thoughts from the organization towards him towards the organization? Like, how's everything seem to be going right now?
I think everything seems to be going good right now. I'm excited to see him out there at OTAs and kind of get a first look at the real team. And look, I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't have more running back talk on here. We got a Kendra Miller picture, and like Jake wasn't going nuts about it. Like, did you see how big the dude's feet are? Like, I asked him about it. He said it helps him plant, and that's how he balances.
No,
I mean,
big feet are overrated, dude.
Get out of here with those little tiny little feet of yours.
Not a more worthless analytical thing to look at than foot size.
It's all about balance there.
Foot size has no correlation with anything.
Yeah, it does.
Anything.
Hey, he was bigger than you probably thought, though, wasn't he? Because we covered him in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, I am.
Like no, not you. You have tiny little feet, tiny little hands.
Yeah, exactly. Bigger than you thought. That's what I'm saying. I completely misunderstood this conversation. I apologize.
I'm talking about the player the Saints select in the third round.
Okay, my bad.
I don't even know what to do with this, so
I know.
I'll talk to you guys. I'll talk to you guys next week.
I don't blame you.
Kendra Miller.
I don't blame you.
Jamal Williams. Got a bevy of facts. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.